Hello, I'm Charles Kovess, Australasia's passion provocateur. Welcome to this week's episode of the Charles Kovess Show, whether you're watching on YouTube, on Rumble, or listening via podcast. This is episode 154 of these weekly shows. In this week's episode, my big topic is to share additional insights with you on why passion makes such a difference. I believe that nothing great was ever achieved without passion. Ralph Waldo Emerson says nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. They are pretty similar words. I explore 5 big global challenges that I'm passionate about to inspire you to discover your own passions. I show the wonderful resources that become available to you when you discover and harness your passions. I urge you to make a wise choice between living a big life and striving to achieve great things, to have a big impact on humanity, rather than a timid, security-seeking life. Each one of us is capable of amazing things if we harness our passions to unleash these capabilities. Our format for the show is that I share today's big idea. I share 6 resources to help you implement today's big idea. I review the week, and then for newer viewers and listeners, my background, more information about my background and the foundational principles for the show are now at the end of the show. So let's go with today's big idea. On our planet today, we face many challenges. Humanity has always faced challenges. We face a series of big challenges that deeply concern me. I say that harnessing your passions will help you to handle them. When I harness my passion, it helps me to handle these challenges. I'm going to explore 5 of what I think are the 5 big challenges that I'm most passionate about, and the resources that become available to me because I'm passionate about them. There's not so much to talk about me as it gives you inspiration to think about what really makes you passionate. What are the challenges that you are willing to fight? What are the challenges that you are willing to do something about? My top 5 are financial challenges, attacks on the family to destroy the family as the basic building block of society, pedophilia, relentless attacks on our freedoms, and health. The amazingly bad things that are being done that impact negatively on our health. I'm passionate about these 5 and others, but these are the big 5 today as I'm recording this. And I'm spending a lot of time on each of these things in my life. But because I'm passionate about them, I have energy available to me. I have courage. I can access courage to speak up against the standard narrative. I have discipline because I'm fighting for a particular cause. I'm fighting against these challenges, and if I don't fight against these challenges, and if I'm not disciplined, then these challenges can take over the planet. Every morning I wake up, I have meaning. There's meaning attached to getting up in the morning. It's fighting these challenges. And I have excitement. It's quite exciting doing courageous things. It's certainly not boring. It's forcing my brain to work at a high level. It's exciting when I get new insights. So these 5, this being passionate, it gives me energy, courage, discipline, meaning, excitement on a day-by-day basis when I wake up and during the day. My vision for each of these challenges is huge. So on the financial side, particularly in Australia, I'm opposing the central bank digital currency because that will lead to a social credit system. But in Australia, we have the challenge of inflation. We have people struggling financially. We have large numbers of unemployed and underemployed. And we have people who really do need a hand up. And I've got a big vision on a television show that I'm developing with the assistance of one of my mates who we'll call the Broken Record. He will know who that is. I want to make an impact on on getting people into the right jobs. And when people are in the right jobs and they're given a hand up, they are capable. Each one of us is capable of amazing things. But if you're in the wrong job, you've got bad bosses, you're not doing what you love doing, you're not suited for it with your personality, with your preferences, then it's a struggle. The second big challenge is the destruction of the family unit. That all relates around the state wanting to be the parent. The state, so the whole transgender movement, the gay pride movement, all of this stuff is designed to make you think there are no mothers or fathers, so that your fealty is to the state. No, just rely on the government. It will look after you. I call BS on that. I say strong family ties, strong families are the crucial building block of successful society. Communism and socialism does not want families. It wants to destroy families. I want to rebuild the relevance, the importance of families. The third big challenge is pedophilia. Even this week on Instagram, the information that's coming out, and I've been exposed to this information for some 10, 15 years, of how big the global pedophilia rings are. I've been told by experts that a minimum of 10 million children a year are being trafficked. 10 million. This is deep, deep evil. And there are people in high places who are practicing these behaviours. I just mentioned the name Jeffrey Epstein for you to think about what I'm talking about on this issue. We need to shine a light on it. And I'm delighted to see that Mel Gibson, the Australian actor, has just done a 4-part documentary on this and is now being vilified by the system because he is shining a big light on pedophilia. We must stop it. The fourth big challenge is the attacks on freedoms. And I want you to, you have freedoms. But those freedoms are inalienable. But government likes to say that your freedoms are only what we give you. I say nonsense. The Australian Constitution, most constitutions around the world were hard fought for, including the American Constitution. And there's chipping away by politicised judges on those freedoms. My vision is that the constitutions of each nation are properly implemented. And in Australia, that is a big, big task. The forefathers of what we have today fought for years to create this constitution that was an appropriate balance between individual rights and the good of the nation. That's being attacked. I want you to think about how you would love to be locked in jail. You'll be safe, but you'll be in jail. How would that be when your freedom to move is taken away, which is also part of the 15-minute city, to take away your freedoms? And the fifth big challenge is health. And I say that Big Pharma has played a total fraud on humanity in a big, big way. Now, I've known that for a long time. You've heard me, for those of you who have seen me plenty of times, I have been saying this for a long time. I don't go to doctors. Doctors are fantastic in trauma and in emergency situations. They are pathetic in terms of keeping you healthy. And that's because of the influence of Big Pharma, the whole drug chemicalized system of putting this material into your body, keeping you just alive but needing these ongoing drugs. And the other issue that ties into this destruction of family and the transgender movement is that there's huge money available to Big Pharma for the drugs that need to be given to anyone who transitions. A documentary recently showed it's $7 to $8 million per person, lifetime value of a person who transitions. Do you think there's a financial benefit in this whole transgender game? Yes, there is. We need to shine a light on the proper way to get healthy and to take away the influence of Big Pharma on governments. The problem is Big Pharma's got massive amounts of money. So I see these big five problems. I see ways to solve them. I'm fighting for what I'm passionate about. I'm fighting to overcome these challenges to what I consider to be a better way of living. And as I've said, I get the benefits from knowing what I'm passionate about. I get energy, I get courage, I get discipline, I get meaning, I get excitement. I want you to have those characteristics. I want you to experience those traits. And you do that when you discover what you want to fight for, what you're passionate about. It's very seductive to choose comfort ahead of pursuing passion. But when you really look at these challenges, sitting comfortably in your home at the moment is a losing strategy. But it's seductive. I get how seductive it is. I'm striving for great things. I might achieve something great, but if I'm not passionate, there's no way I will achieve anything of greatness. Why do I want to achieve anything? It's not that I want to achieve anything great, but if I play the game well, harnessing my passion, then I'm capable of achieving something great. And if I'm having the good fight, it's not whether I win or lose, it's I'm fighting for something I believe in, that I'm passionate about. That is the way to live life, in my view, rather than a timid, security-seeking life. I just want to be safe. That's not what we were made for. As you've heard me say in the past, the safest place for a ship is in a harbour, but that's not the purpose of a ship. A ship has to get out there on the high seas and take the risk of doing its job. Your job is to do what you see needs to be done. So, some resources. Number one resource is coffee, of course. Julie, this coffee is so good. I love it. I love coffee. So, the song. You'd be pleased to know that I'm not going to sing it for it, but it's a song called Rise Up, a song by Andra Day. It's a beautiful, inspiring song, and I've had some women telling me how beautiful Andra Day is, A-N-D-R-A. But here's some lyrics from it. You're broken down and tired of living life on a merry-go-round, and you can't find the fighter, but I see it in you, so we're going to walk it out and move mountains. And I'll rise up like the day, and I'll do it 1,000 times again. High like the waves, I'll rise up in spite of the ache. I'll rise up, I'll do it 1,000 times again. When the silence isn't quiet and it feels like it's getting hard to breathe, and I know you feel like dying, but I promise we'll take the world to its feet. Inspiring words. Have a listen to it. My book this week is Die Empty by Todd Henry. Die Empty by Todd Henry. All right? Unleash your best work every day. On the back of it says, you have a limited number of days on earth. This book sends an urgent message. Make them count. That's what I'm telling you. So this book is not a thick book. It might inspire you to take practical steps to implement what I'm talking about today. My spiritual tip is to meditate on freedoms that you think are important. You see, we assume these freedoms, they're subconscious. Oh, yeah, I can go and do what I like. No, if you meditate, hey, what freedoms do I actually have, and what freedoms don't I have, and how easy is it for the government to take away my freedoms? Do you want to be in a jail? Do you want to be locked into a 15-minute city that I call a 15-minute ghetto, having been taught that by Christine Anderson, a member of the European Parliament? What do you want? What are the freedoms that are important to you? Do you want to be able to spend your money as you wish rather than being limited by a central bank digital currency? Meditate on that. Understand, do you want to be able to get in your car and drive to Queensland, drive to wherever you want to go, to fly wherever you want to go? Is that what you want? Or do you want someone limiting you because of your carbon footprint, because of an alleged fraudulent climate emergency that doesn't exist? We have a soil emergency, and I love the planet, but there's no climate emergency. What freedoms are important to you? My health tip today, I've got two of them. Number one, maintain your doses of vitamin C. I'm appalled how many people don't understand the importance of vitamin C for their immune system. And the second is, if you've got something wrong, get a proper suite of blood tests. Okay? There are crucial blood tests that you need to do to get a proper analysis of what's going on inside your body. That's my health tip. Lots of vitamin C and understand which blood tests to get. A website that I'll send you to is foamgroup.online that Julie and I run. It has that suite of blood tests that will give you a proper analysis of what's going on inside you. Now, my quote is by Ralph Waldo Emerson. It's a variation on today's theme. Ralph Waldo Emerson, I'm a big fan of him. He said, nothing great was ever achieved without enthusiasm. Well, I say nothing great was ever achieved without passion. The two go nicely because the etymology of the word enthusiasm is from two Greek words, en and theos, meaning inside God. Enthusiasm is the mental state of God, of being inside the mental state of God. It's a great idea, isn't it? Being enthusiastic. I don't care if you're enthusiastic or passion, either of them will do, because if you're enthusiastic, you will have those similar resources made available to you. And then, since I'm talking about health as one of the big 5 challenges, well, I love this story, of a little old lady who came into the doctor and confessed to an embarrassing problem. She says, "Doctor, look, I'm farting all the time, passing wind all the time. I mean, they're soundless and they're odorless, but it's nevertheless embarrassing." And the doctor says, "Here's a prescription, Mrs. Barker. Please take these for 2 weeks and then come back and let's have a look how you're going." 2 weeks later, she comes back. She's very upset. "Why are you upset, Mrs. Barker?" "I'm very upset. Not only have my farts not stopped, but now they've got a shocking odor. I didn't have that before." And the doctor says, "Mrs. Barker, the pills I gave you cleared up your sinuses. Now we'll start working on your hearing." There you are. That's you see, you go to the doctor and you think you've got a problem, and you might have another problem. So take the steps to the 6 resources to think about today's big idea of the sort of life that you want to live, because this show is about provoking you, inspiring you, motivating you to keep examining your life, to raise your self-awareness. I urge you to subscribe to this show, either as a podcast or on the Rumble or YouTube channels. Share it with your family, friends, and work colleagues. Visit our websites, covest.com, charlescovest.com. My books, Passionate People Produce and Passionate Performance, are available on both of those websites. Now, let's do a review of some crucial happenings during the week that I think are important. On my TNT radio show, it's a weekly show, as you know, at 4 p.m. on Saturdays. My guest yesterday was Captain Shane Murdoch, a sacked Virgin pilot of 40-plus years standing who was sacked for not following an unlawful directive. He's in the courts. He needs financial support. He's part of a bigger group. He's doing a great fight against unlawful policies by Virgin Airlines, and he is also blowing the whistle on the dangers to the aviation industry from pilots that have been damaged from bioweapons injected into them. And I remind you to also listen. All those TNT radio shows are recorded as podcasts, so you can go back to all of my shows since January 2022. So a year and a half of shows. So there's some amazing resources there. The week before was John Lukács, and he explored, or he shone a light on a 1984 research with amazing cancer cure that he's raving about with 100% success rate, he says. So check that out as well on my previous episode. Yesterday's Australian came out in a big way about the lies that Scott Morrison, former Prime Minister of Australia, has been saying around the Brittany Higgins case. And boy, oh boy, is that a can of worms. Brittany Higgins claims to be raped, organises a case, uses the media. Bruce Lerman comes out, the case is dropped, comes out, denies that he ever even had sex with her. She allegedly was paid $3 million in compensation. The shenanigans going on with these politicians, everybody, is outrageous. Our trust in politicians is as low as it's ever been, and it needs to go lower because they are basically overwhelmingly untrustworthy. They will do anything to maintain their position, their status, and they will lie to an extraordinary degree. As I say in the classics, how do you know a politician's lying? His lips are moving, or her lips are moving. But front page of the Australian, extraordinary. On that same front page, a psychiatrist in Queensland Health, Gillian Spencer, has been stood down because she is pushing back against the transgender narrative being imposed on young people. You see, if she's properly doing her job as a psychiatrist, she won't just say, if anyone wants to transition, sure, we'll support you in your transition. That's a ridiculous proposition. Alistair Pope, an expert on defence, he was also on TNT Radio. He's a friend of mine, but he was pointing out how incapable our defence forces are. Our whole defence system is incapable, and the money that we're putting into this is incredible waste of money. Quite extraordinary. If you really go into this whole defence capability that we have, it's pathetic. Daniel Andrews, the Premier of Victoria, has also been going on his merry way, censoring, not admitting anything. The silence, the lack of transparency in this government is just amazing, and people put up with it. Well, people in Victoria, you will pay a price. The slower you wake up to this corrupt, criminal, evil Premier and this government that he leads, the better this state will be, because at the moment it's heading quickly on the way down a big hole. I lament the failure of CEOs of major corporations in this country to push back against government narratives. It's quite remarkable. I particularly lament the business leaders and organisational leaders in Victoria standing up against Daniel Andrews. He is a disaster for this state. I say again, he's the worst Premier this state has ever had, even worse than Joan Kirner. And lastly, the fraudulent information about the voice, giving Aboriginals a voice to Parliament. It is a fraud being perpetrated on us. I'll happily debate that with anybody. If anyone says you're a racist because you push back against the voice, or you say, I'm going to vote no, tell them they don't know what they're talking about. And if you want to know why, send me an email and I will tell you why. All right, there you are. That's where my mind is at the moment. And I'm passionate about all these issues, as you might have guessed. If you're new to the show, stick around now for the foundational principles for the show and more background about me. Thanks for watching or listening. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for sharing the news about this show. And I wish for you a week of passion, of embracing challenges, of identifying the challenges that you want to fight back against because of the life that you want to live. I wish you ever-increasing self-awareness. I wish you fun. Embrace this gift of life. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back with you next week. Bye. And now, for viewers and listeners who want to know more about my background and what else I do with my life, as well as the foundational principles of the show. Here we are. Since 1993, when I left my legal career, a career that I love, to become Australasia's passion provocateur, I have inspired and provoked and educated and motivated people all over the world to discover and pursue their passion. I have helped people via the books that I've written, via speeches at conferences, via in-depth team building programs, workshops over 1, 2 or 3 days, or over 3 months, 6 months. And I've coached people of all ages, one-on-one, from small, medium and large enterprises, government enterprises, helping them to identify the often tiny changes that can make a massive difference. One of my core principles is that freedom is what makes us truly human. That's why one of the greatest threats that government imposes on you to force you to observe its laws is the threat of imprisonment, the loss of your freedom. Just think about that. Government says if you don't behave yourself, we're going to put you in jail. No, I don't want to go to jail. I don't want to lose my freedom. That's a reminder to you of why freedom is so important. Without freedom, you and I are not much different to animals. If you were locked up in a cage for the rest of your life, how different would you be to an animal? This commitment to fighting for freedoms for all people is carried out by me primarily through 5 channels. Number 1, preserving the freedom to pursue your passion. Number 2, inspiring you to be able to be free through excellent health. Number 3, helping preserve freedom throughout the world through the expansion of industrial hemp, a magnificent agricultural crop, an almost miraculous crop that enables every community to thrive independently of government. In this way, the power of government to take away freedom is minimized. Number 4, fighting for freedom through legal strategies. So I do work as a legal strategy consultant, as an interface between clients and their lawyers. And number 5, as chairman of the Australian Institute of Comedy and as a board member of the Australian Cartoon Museum, fighting for the freedom of thought and speech through uncensored comedy and humour, through avoiding political correctness in the comedic space. When you block freedom of speech, freedom of thought, that's the beginning of the end of your freedoms. The foundational principles for the Charles Kovess Show are founded on the formula SA plus P equals S. Your self-awareness added to your passion will guarantee that you are successful. And the best definition of success I have found in life is that success is the progressive realization of your worthy ideals. The progressive realization of your worthy ideals. This show is also guided by Socrates' famous principle and quote, "The unexamined life is not worth living." You can see I'm wearing my red jacket. I wear my red jacket for all my shows. Red is the color of passion, so that when you see me on the YouTube version, it reminds you that when you see red in your life, you ask yourself the question, am I pursuing my passion? What am I passionate about? Am I still passionate about that? What might I newly be passionate about? Each week I explore one big idea that can change your life. And it's just one big idea because there's a chance you will remember it. If I give you too many ideas, then we get confused and we don't do anything. Clarity leads to power. Confusion kills passion. Each week I share simple and practical resources that you've heard me describe in the earlier part of the show. A spiritual tip, a health tip, lyrics of a song, a book, a quote, and of course humour. This show is not politically correct. I have no intention of being politically correct. And I love certain addictions, including my addiction to great coffee, my addiction to exercise, my addiction to reading, and my addiction to certain other unmentionable in public type behaviours. Who would know what they are? This show definitely subscribes to the view that we have a spiritual life. So if you don't like discussion of spirituality, this show is not for you. I promise you that I don't include anything in this show that I don't consider to be true and that I have not found to be useful in the work that I've done over the past 28 years, but also over the past 50 years in business, as a lawyer, as a consultant advisor. I only want to share stuff with you that is of value to you. Finally, if you have any questions or suggestions, please feel free to contact me at charles@kovess.com. Again, thanks for watching and listening to my show. Bye.